Have you ever witnessed a quiet rebellion change a life forever? The roar came from the doorway, so sudden and so loud that Ethan jerked in his chair, his pencil clattering to the library floor. Maya William froze, her hands still resting on the open book between them. The warm, still air of the Harrington library seemed to shatter under the force of that voice. Richard Harrington, the man whose name opened boardroom doors and closed deals worth hundreds of millions, stood framed in the doorway. His charcoal suit was immaculate, the gleam on his cufflinks catching the afternoon light. But his eyes were hard, his jaw tight with fury. Maya's heartbeat quickened. She had never seen him this angry, not even when he'd had to fire a senior executive for embezzlement. "Dad," Ethan started, but Richard cut him off with a raised hand. "I leave for one meeting and come back to find my son being taught by the help." His voice was sharp enough to cut glass. He stepped into the room, each footfall deliberate, the polished shoes clicking against the hardwood floor. "Do you have any idea what you're doing?" Maya straightened in her chair, though she kept her voice calm. "Sir, Ethan asked for my help." "Help?" Richard's laugh was bitter, cold. "You think you're qualified to help him? My son has autism. He needs specialists, trained educators, people who actually know what they're doing." He stopped himself, but the contempt in his voice made the unfinished words sting even more. "You're here to serve tea and keep the house in order. That's it." Ethan shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his fingers tapping the edge of the table, a rhythm Maya recognized as his way of holding back anxiety. "I like learning with Maya," Ethan said softly, but with more conviction than she expected. "It's different." Richard turned to him, his expression hardening. "Different isn't always better, Ethan. We've paid for the best tutors in the country. People with degrees. People who understand what you need." "They don't make me want to read," Ethan blurted. "They make my head feel loud. Maya makes it quiet. Fun." He glanced at her. And for the first time since his father had appeared, a small smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. "She makes me want to try." Mia felt something tighten in her chest. It was the first time she'd heard him describe it that way. Could this be the moment that changes everything? Richard's gaze snapped back to her. "So, what is this, Miss William? You think because you've spent a few nights in this library, you can succeed where professionals failed? You're giving him false hope. Do you have any idea how damaging that can be?" "With respect, sir," Maya said evenly, "the only thing I've given him is my time and my belief that he can do it." If you feel connected to Maya and Ethan's story, please give this video a like and don't forget to comment below with where you're watching from. Who knows? There might be others nearby watching and supporting this story with you, brought to you by BUP Stories. Richard's eyes narrowed. Belief won't fix his challenges. "No," Maya agreed. "But it's a place to start." For a long, tense moment, the only sound in the room was the faint ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. Richard's voice, when it came again, was quieter, but no less dangerous. "This ends now. I don't want to walk into this library again and see you playing teacher. Is that understood?" Maya held his gaze. She knew better than to push further. "At least not right now." "Yes, sir," she said. Richard turned to his son. "And you, when your tutor comes tomorrow, you'll give them your full attention. No more of this nonsense." Ethan's shoulders slumped. "Yes, sir," he murmured. Richard walked out without another word, the echo of his footsteps fading down the hallway. Silence fell heavy over the room. Ethan's tapping returned, faint and uneven. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "You have nothing to be sorry for," Mia said gently. "You wanted to learn. That's never something to apologize for." He looked up at her. "Will you still help me even if he's mad?" Maya hesitated only a second. "I'll help you until you tell me to stop." A flicker of relief passed over his face. She slid the book back toward him, pointing to where they had left off. "Let's finish this chapter," she said softly. And though Richard Harrington's fury still rang in her ears, Maya knew she wasn't going to walk away. Not when Ethan's eyes lit up at the sight of a page. Not when she'd seen the joy, a rare, precious thing that only came when he was learning with her. The sun had barely risen when Maya William was already in the kitchen. The faint hum of the morning city filtering through the large windows overlooking the Harrington estate. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the soft clatter of china as she prepared breakfast for the family. The routine was ingrained: scrambling eggs, crisping bacon, buttering toast just so. Yet today, the normalcy felt fragile, like a thin veneer stretched taut over the tension that had settled the day before. Mia's thoughts kept drifting back to Ethan. She had seen him in a light she hadn't seen before, for the boy who lit up when they read together, who struggled but smiled, who for the first time seemed to believe in his own progress. That joy was rare in this house, buried beneath expectations and the cold discipline of his father's world. "Hey, Maya," called a voice from the hallway. It was Mr. Reynolds, the longtime butler, carrying a silver tray with a pot of hot tea and a stack of crisp newspapers. His face was lined with decades of service, his eyes kind, but shadowed by worry. "Morning, Mr. Reynolds," Maya replied, setting down the breakfast tray carefully. "Did you get a chance to speak with the chairman this morning?" His voice was low. Careful, Mia shook her head. "Not yet. I'm trying to avoid any more trouble." He sighed. "It's hard to keep peace in this house these days. The boy needs help. God knows, not just lessons in reading." Maya nodded, grateful for the sympathy. "He's more than his diagnosis." Outside, the sprawling grounds glistened with dew, the early sunlight casting long shadows across the manicured lawns. Maya took a moment to breathe it in. For all the wealth and grandeur around her, the estate often felt like a gilded cage, not just for Ethan, but for her as well. After breakfast, Maya found her way to the grand library once more. It was her refuge, a place where the polished wood and leather-bound books didn't judge, where the silence invited concentration rather than scrutiny. Ethan was already there, curled in the same wingback chair, a well-worn book held carefully in his hands. "Good morning, Ethan," Mia greeted softly. He looked up, eyes bright despite the early hour. "Morning, Mia." Today, his eagerness was palpable, a sharp contrast to the nervousness that had shadowed their last session. He was already pointing to a page, reading a sentence aloud with newfound confidence. Maya smiled. "You're getting better." Ethan shrugged modestly. "I like it when we read together. It doesn't feel like work." "That's because learning should never feel like punishment," Mia said. "It should be a discovery." They spent the morning turning pages, the boy's voice growing steadier with each word. Maya used every tool she knew: flashcards, phonetic games, even songs she'd learned from her own childhood. Her patience was endless, her encouragement genuine. But the shadows of the previous day lingered. Maya could not ignore the reality of Richard Harrington's fury, the man's disdain for her involvement, the threat beneath his words. She knew better than to believe things would get easier. Later that afternoon, Maya was summoned to the study. The room was vast, lined with floor-to-ceiling shelves, heavy with law books and financial reports. Richard Harrington sat behind a massive mahogany desk, his expression unreadable beneath his thick brows. "Miss William," he began without preamble. "I've been reviewing the tutors we've considered for Ethan." Maya kept her posture straight, meeting his gaze steadily. "Let me be clear," he said. "Ethan's education is not something I entrust lightly. I need professionals, people with certifications, experience with children on the spectrum. Not," he paused, the unspoken insult hanging in the air. "Not me," Maya finished quietly. Richard nodded, eyes narrowing. "Exactly. Yet here you are spending hours teaching him without authorization." "I'm not here to overstep, sir," Mia replied, choosing her words carefully. "Ethan asked for my help. I'm simply responding to his needs." "And yet it undermines the work of experts. It risks confusing him, giving him false hope." "Or it gives him confidence," Maya countered gently. "Something I see he's been missing." Richard leaned back, steepling his fingers. "You don't understand how high the stakes are. Ethan represents our family's future. His success is not negotiable." "I understand more than you think," Mia said softly. And success isn't just measured by certificates or money. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken challenges. Finally, Richard spoke. You will cease these lessons immediately. If Ethan wishes to continue, he will do so with the approved tutors. Is that understood? Maya nodded. Yes, sir. As she left the study, the weight of the command pressed down on her, but in her heart, she knew she couldn't stop. Not when she saw what Ethan was becoming under her guidance. That evening, Maya returned to the library, carrying an extra blanket and a stack of new books she'd quietly borrowed from the public library in town. She found Ethan waiting, his face alight with anticipation. I thought you wouldn't come back, he whispered. I'm not so easy to get rid of, Maya said with a soft smile. They settled in together, the pages turning under the soft lamplight. A fragile world where a boy and a woman found hope in the quiet power of words. Outside, the house stood silent and imposing, but inside something gentle and rebellious was taking root. The days that followed were a delicate dance of secrecy and stolen moments. Maya knew that every session with Ethan was a risk. A risk not only to her position in the Harrington household, but to the fragile trust she was building with the boy himself. Yet, despite the dangers, something within her refused to back down. Ethan, for his part, began to show a side of himself few had ever seen. The boy, who had once shrunk from words, now approached each lesson with a quiet determination. His eyes sparkled when he recognized a new word, and a shy smile tugged at his lips when Mia praised his progress. It was in these moments that Mia found her greatest motivation, the chance to ignite a light in a child so often surrounded by shadows. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, Maya prepared for another lesson. She gathered a small pile of picture books, flashcards, and a notebook filled with carefully crafted phonics exercises. Each item was selected with care, designed to meet Ethan where he was without overwhelming him. She found Ethan in the conservatory, nestled between towering ferns and sunlight filtering through stained glass. His small frame was curled up on a leather chaise lounge, a picture book open but forgotten beside him. Ready to read? Maya asked gently. Ethan looked up, eyes bright but cautious. Yeah. They settled together on the floor, backs against the cool marble, and Maya opened the first book. Let's start with something fun today, she said, pointing to a page filled with colorful animals. As Ethan traced the words with his finger, his voice was tentative at first, stumbling over tricky sounds, but Maya's steady encouragement kept him going. That's it. You're doing great. A soft breeze rustled the leaves overhead, and somewhere distant, a clock chimed the hour. Time slipped away unnoticed as they worked through the pages. The room filled only with their voices and the turning of paper. Afterward, Ethan looked up with a question that surprised Maya. Why do you help me? She paused, considering how much to reveal. Because everyone deserves someone who believes in them. And sometimes the right teacher is the one who refuses to give up. Ethan nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. I think my dad would never understand that. Maya's smile was gentle but tinged with sadness. People sometimes fear what they don't understand. Their growing bond did not go unnoticed. One evening, as Maya carried a tray of tea down the hallway, she overheard voices from the study. Richard Harrington's voice, cold and sharp, echoed with frustration. She's meddling, he said. That Maid thinks she can replace the professionals we've hired. It's unacceptable. A softer voice, presumably that of his assistant, replied cautiously. But sir, the boy seems happier, more engaged. One evening, as Maya and Ethan worked on a story about a brave explorer, the boy paused, looking thoughtful. Do you think I can be brave like that explorer? Mia smiled gently. You already are. Ethan's eyes shone with determination. Then I'll keep trying for you, for Dad, and for me. Mia reached out, squeezing his hand. That's all anyone can ask. Outside, the estate lay quiet beneath a blanket of stars. But inside, a new chapter was unfolding, one written in courage, hope, and the unbreakable bond between a boy and the woman who believed in him. The Harrington estate was hushed under the pale light of dawn. When Maya arrived in the library, the quiet sanctuary where so many of her and Ethan's lessons had taken place, The morning air was crisp, carrying with it the scent of aging books and polished wood. Ethan was already there, seated comfortably with a well-worn storybook resting on his lap. "Good morning, Ethan," Mia greeted softly. He looked up, a tentative smile touching his lips. "Morning, Mia." Today was different. The reading competition had passed. And though the applause and accolades were still fresh, the real work had just begun. Mia could sense Ethan's eagerness to push further, to prove that his success was not a fleeting moment, but the start of a lifelong journey. "Ready for today's lesson?" Mia asked, unfolding her notebook filled with new exercises and stories. Ethan nodded eagerly. "I want to read everything." They began with the familiar rhythm of sounding out words, Maya guiding Ethan through increasingly complex sentences. His voice, once shaky and uncertain, now carried a confident cadence. Each word a step toward mastery. As the morning wore on, Maya introduced a new exercise, creative storytelling. "I want you to tell me a story, Ethan. One that's all your own." Ethan's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Really? I can?" "Of course," Maya replied with a smile. "Stories are how we share our dreams and make sense of the world." Ethan thought for a moment, then began. "Once there was a boy who couldn't read like everyone else, but he found a secret garden where the words danced and sang to him." Maya listened intently as Ethan wove a tale of adventure and discovery, his imagination painting vivid pictures beyond the confines of the estate. The story was raw but heartfelt, a reflection of his journey and the hope that had blossomed within him. After the lesson, Maya walked Ethan to the kitchen where the aroma of freshly baked bread and brewing coffee greeted them. The household staff moved about with practiced efficiency, though some cast curious glances toward the boy, who was quickly becoming a symbol of change. Margaret Harrington appeared unexpectedly, her expression guarded, but less severe than before. "Miss William," she began, "I've been reflecting on Ethan's progress. It seems your unconventional methods have merit." Maya met her gaze steadily. "Thank you, Mrs. Harrington." Margaret sighed softly. "Change is never easy in this house. But perhaps it is necessary." The words were tentative, a crack in the facade of resistance. Mia sensed that the walls were slowly shifting, opening just enough to allow new possibilities. That evening, Maya and Ethan sat beneath the grand oak tree in the garden, the twilight wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. "Do you think I'll ever write a book that other kids will read?" Ethan asked, eyes reflecting the fading light. "I believe you will," Maya said. "Your story is powerful and the world deserves to hear it." Ethan smiled, a spark of determination igniting within him. "Then I'll keep writing for me, for my family, and for everyone who thinks they can't." Maya squeezed his hand gently. "That's the bravest thing you can do." Under the vast expanse of the night sky, their bond grew stronger, a testament to resilience, hope, and the enduring power of belief. The soft glow of the morning sun spilled through the tall windows of the Harrington Library, casting warm patterns across the rows of leather-bound books. Maya entered quietly, carrying a stack of freshly borrowed volumes, their pages promising new worlds and untold adventures. She found Ethan already there, seated in his favorite chair, a notebook open on his lap and a pencil poised in his hand. "Good morning, Ethan," she greeted, setting the books gently on the table. He looked up, eyes bright with anticipation. "Morning, Maya. I've been working on my story." Mia smiled warmly. "I can't wait to hear it." Their sessions had evolved into something extraordinary, a partnership where learning was a shared journey and stories became bridges to understanding and expression. Today, Ethan was eager to share a new chapter he had written. A tale born from his own imagination, but colored by his experiences. He cleared his throat and began. In a land where shadows tried to silence voices, a young boy found a light inside himself that no darkness could dim. Maya listened, captivated by the courage woven into his words. The story was raw and heartfelt, a reflection of his own path through uncertainty to hope. When he finished, she reached out, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "That was beautiful, Ethan. You have a gift." Ethan's smile was shy but proud. "Thanks to you." Their quiet celebration was interrupted by the arrival of Margaret Harrington. Her expression was softer than usual, though still guarded. "Miss William," she said, "I wanted to acknowledge the progress Ethan has made under your guidance." Maya inclined her head. "Thank you, Mrs. Harrington." Margaret sighed, a flicker of something unreadable passing through her eyes. "Change is difficult, but sometimes necessary." The conversation was brief, but it marked a subtle shift, an opening in the walls of resistance that had long surrounded Mia's efforts. That evening, as dusk settled over the estate, Mia and Ethan sat beneath the ancient oak tree in the garden. The sky above was a canvas of deep blues and shimmering stars. "Do you think my story will ever inspire others?" Ethan asked, voice filled with hope. "I believe it will," Maya said softly. "Your journey is powerful, and the world needs stories like yours." Ethan's eyes shone with determination. "Then I'll keep writing for me, for my family, and for anyone who feels unheard." "Ah." Maya squeezed his hand gently. "That's the bravest thing you can do." As the night embraced them, the bond between teacher and student deepened, a testament to resilience, belief, and the transformative power of hope. The Harrington estate was bathed in the soft light of early morning as Maya prepared for another day of lessons. The house, grand and imposing, felt a little less intimidating now, a place where progress, no matter how small, was quietly celebrated. Maya moved through the familiar corridors with a sense of purpose. Her thoughts focused on Ethan and the journey that had brought them this far. She had seen a transformation not just in the boy's reading skills, but in his spirit, a light that had been dimmed by doubt now burning steadily. Entering the conservatory, Mia found Ethan already there, seated with a fresh notebook and a determined look on his face. "Good morning, Ethan," she said, smiling warmly. "Morning, Maya," he replied, his voice steady. "I wrote something last night." Mia's eyes brightened. "I can't wait to hear it." Ethan cleared his throat and began reading aloud, his words flowing with newfound confidence. In a world where voices were often silenced, one boy found strength in his story. With every word he spoke, he broke through the barriers of doubt and fear. Maya listened, moved by the courage woven into his writing. The story was not just about a boy overcoming challenges. It was a reflection of Ethan's own path. His triumphs and struggles laid bare on the page. "That was incredible, Ethan," Maya said, her voice filled with pride. "You're becoming quite the storyteller." Ethan's smile was shy but genuine. "Thanks to you." Their lesson was interrupted by a soft knock at the door. Margaret Harrington entered, her expression measured, but less severe than before. "Miss William," she began, "I wanted to speak with you about Ethan's progress." Maya nodded, gesturing for her to sit. Margaret took a deep breath. "I admit I was skeptical at first, but your dedication and the results are undeniable." Maya met her gaze steadily. "Ethan has worked incredibly hard." "There's a change in him," Margaret continued. "Not just in his reading, but in his confidence and outlook. It's inspiring." "Ah." The acknowledgement was subtle, but it marked a turning point, a recognition that Maya's unconventional methods had made a lasting impact. As Margaret left, Maya felt a renewed sense of hope. The walls of resistance were beginning to crumble, replaced by understanding and acceptance. That evening, Maya and Ethan sat beneath the sprawling branches of the estate's ancient oak tree, the sky above painted in hues of twilight. "Do you think my story will help others?" Ethan asked quietly. "I believe it will," Maya replied. "Your journey is powerful, and your voice deserves to be heard." Ethan looked up at her, eyes shining with determination. "Then I'll keep writing. For me, for my family, and for anyone who feels like they can't." Maya squeezed his hand gently. "That's the bravest thing you can do." Under the vast canopy of stars, their bond deepened, a testament to resilience, hope, and the unbreakable power of belief. The final light of day filtered softly through the towering windows of the Harrington Library, casting a warm golden hue across the shelves, lined with books that told countless stories, stories of courage, hope, and transformation. This room, once a silent witness to Ethan's struggles, now echoed with the quiet triumph of his growth. Ma sat beside Ethan, who was curled up with a newly written story in hand. His eyes sparkled with pride and a sense of accomplishment that had once seemed impossible. Do you remember when reading was a struggle? Maya asked gently. Ethan nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. It felt like the letters were dancing away from me. But you caught them, Mia said softly. You held on and made them your own. Their bond had deepened through shared victories and quiet moments of perseverance. Together, they had rewritten a narrative once shadowed by doubt and fear. As the evening deepened, Richard Harrington entered the room. His presence was steady, his usual stern demeanor softened by the unmistakable pride in his son's achievements. Ethan, he said, voice warm. You have done something remarkable. Ethan looked up, eyes bright. Thank you, Dad. Turning to Maya, Richard continued. And you, Miss William, have been instrumental in this journey. Your belief and dedication have changed our family. Mia bowed her head respectfully. Thank you, sir. It's been an honor. Richard smiled, a rare and genuine expression. This is only the beginning. Together, we will ensure Ethan's future is limitless. The weight of those words settled over them. A promise of hope and possibility. Later, as Maya and Ethan stepped into the garden, the night sky stretched endlessly above, stars twinkling like distant dreams waiting to be reached. Do you think my story will inspire others? Ethan asked softly. I know it will, Maya replied. Your journey is a beacon of courage and hope. Ethan's gaze lifted to the stars, determination shining in his eyes. Then I'll keep writing for me, for my family, and for everyone who needs to hear that they can overcome. Maya squeezed his hand gently. That's the bravest story of all. Under the vast expanse of the universe, they stood together, teacher and student, bound by resilience, hope, and the unbreakable power of belief. And as the night embraced them, the Harrington estate was no longer just a place of wealth and tradition. It had become a sanctuary of dreams, growth, and the limitless potential of the human spirit. The story of Maya and Ethan teaches us profound lessons about resilience, belief, and the transformative power of education. It shows that true progress often comes from patience, dedication, and the courage to defy societal expectations and prejudices. Maya's unwavering faith in Ethan reminds us that every individual deserves someone who believes in their potential regardless of their background or challenges. The journey also highlights the importance of breaking down barriers, whether they be social, racial, or personal, to create opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Ultimately, this story inspires us to stand up for justice and equity, to nurture hope in the face of adversity, and to recognize that sometimes the most extraordinary changes begin with a single person's commitment to believe in another. Brought to you by BUP Stories.